Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to WCS America Premier League. We are getting into the last match of the round of 32. Huck versus Sen. It's a PVZ, and this is going to be an exciting game. 1-1 already is the series, and I mean, it's anybody's game right now.
It really is. The third and final map is going to be Neo Planet S. This is a map where, of course, those early gateway attacks are very strong, but also it's very difficult for Protoss to defend your third base here. So I think Huck may just play the exact same way he played that last map. It worked out very well for him there.
Quite right. I mean, he just needs to do that timing yet again. And, I mean, the Zealot control, once again, from Huck, so good. Was able to do so much work with those Zealots and completely take that game fairly convincingly. But let's take a look at our players and positions on the map. Spawning down here in the bottom left-hand corner from Team Evil Geniuses, it is Huck. Spawn up here in the top right-hand corner. Our red Zerg player from Team Gamma Bear. Can he pull it through and win and go to the round of 16? It is Sen. So, nothing crazy coming out from Huck. No proxies, no nothing. Sen himself also being incredibly stable, not doing anything crazy. This is one of those really interesting times to see what type of advantage people get in their last game.
Last time we saw Sen opt to take a late third base here and go straight for those upgraded speed lanes and then into Ultraless. And so the question is he going to do that again? And if so, how is Huck going to react to that type of play?
I mean, Crank was able to counter that so perfectly, and you know, Sen was having such an issue in trying to get any type of major concave and surface area on Crank's army on this map. Ultras are pretty big. The attack paths here on this map are kind of big, but it still proved to be a huge issue there for Sen to deny that third base. So I'm not sure if he's going to go for the same type of build when it just did not work out at all for him in that game.
It did not, but of course he was also up against Crank, a player with a very different style of play than Huck.
Huck throwing a pylon in the middle of his Vespine Geyser gas path, which is going to cause... Okay, sorry, I saw that little probe go the long way around. I thought it was going to be a little bit of an issue there.
It did at first. Sometimes you have to, you know, tell the probes the correct way to go at one time, or else they'll kind of keep going the long way. But once you tell them once, they usually stay on a true path, and it's not going to interfere with them at all in that regard. It looks like Huck's going to go for the same build he did last game. I would anticipate that was a very good build, of course, getting a Nexus first, and then using that Mothership Core to scout. Using that Mothership Core to scout allows you to basically keep all your probes focused on just mining minerals, which then maximizes your income, and it can make those timing attacks a little bit faster.
Meanwhile, Sen not doing anything too crazy, grabbing gas a little bit earlier than last time. No third base. So looks like he's going to follow pretty much what he did against Crank. It could be the same exact build order once again.
It does indeed look like it. Two Zerglings heading out here to scout Huck. Of course, these can chip away to buildings and be a little bit annoying. In general, they can also just keep that Mothership Core back on defense. Wait, they're actually going to go straight into the main. Interesting choice, because I think he knows what Huck has, given the Nexus timing.
Yeah, he's going to get in here. He's not going to see too much. Mothership Core probably going to try and deny that Zergling from getting out.
Most likely.
Seal its fate. But the Mothership Core actually walking away. He's going to say, you know what, fine. See what I'm building. That's fine with me.
Huck wants to prioritize his own scouting over getting that one little Zergling.
Probe chasing the Zergling. Actually, only to throw down a couple of buildings here.
More gateways heading up. It looks like very similar to the build Huck did last game. Oh, no. He was trying to trick? Oh, no, I get it. Yeah, he canceled the gateway because he accidentally made a full wall and he wanted to make a partial wall. For a second, I thought he was going to trick his opponent after he scouted the gateways into thinking he was doing the same build he did last game. And then really not. But it does look like he's doing a similar build. No fourth gateway yet, though. And in fact, he scouts and he's kind of seen the build, and he may not go for the gateway aggression because his opponent never took a third base.
Instead, opting for a Stargate.
Oh, this Overlord could potentially run in there and see it. Does Huck know that Overlord is over there on the right side?
Doesn't
Stalkers
see it.
at the front.
Stalkers are at the front, and even then, the Overlord has actually a pretty small distance to traverse. It could potentially see it, even if the Stalker starts engaging as soon as it gets over there. Stalkers don't do that much damage to Overlords. Overlords have a lot of health.
I'd actually kind of like to see Huck head out with the Stalker and a probe and try to sell that he's doing that gateway rush again. But seeing the 3 sentries back at home, now, of course, Sen knows there's no early gateway rush, so he doesn't have to build any more speedings. He could drone up. He still may want to get speedings depending on how aggressive he wants to be at denying Huck any map control.
Now there are the 3 sentries and the Stalker waiting for that Overlord to move, so we can try and deny it. Unfortunately, until then, the Overlord's a little bit out of range.
Mothership Corps hanging out in front of the base, heading out on a secondary scouting mission. Probably trying to see the 3rd timing of the Zerg, or also to see if there's any units being rallied out towards him from those Zerg bases.
Almost ZVZ in style, where you have your Overlords hanging out in front of the natural, waiting to see any type of unit movements. Using that Mothership Corps in that type of manner. Overlord trying to move in. Oh, Phoenix actually just shows the technology here as it's taking out the Overlord, so Sen's going to know that there's Phoenixes out here. Once again, delaying those Spore Crawlers, doesn't want to get them immediately because there's only 1 Phoenix out.
Probe snuck its way to the top left. It actually went past the speedling, but Sen didn't notice, so that probe is in a very nice spot to build pylons to launch an invasion from later down the road. Hallucinated Phoenix going to try to scout and see exactly what Sen is doing. It's going to see the lair. It's going to see the Spore Crawlers. Is he going to be able to see the double evolution chambers?
That's going to be a really big tipping point. And yeah, he sees both the evolution chambers. Now, can he make the type of army that Crank did? Is he going to go for that type of a path? He's got the Robo Facility already on the way. He's got +1 weapons on the way as well. Or he's going to try and strike when this build is weak.
One of the unique things about this, or one of the things you have to keep in mind when playing against Zerg using this upgraded speeding style, is that it's very difficult to solidify a 3rd base up early. We saw Crank dealt with this, but it's not taking a Nexus for quite a long time. I think his 3rd base is like the 14-15 minute mark when Crank played. But Huck, it looks like he wants to take the 3rd base a little bit earlier. The probe is already poised here. If he can defend his 3rd base from speedlings, he's going to be in good shape.
Now the speedlings are poking around here, doing a little bit of work, but nothing too crazy. Mothership Corps comes in here and starts tickling some of those Zergling. Doesn't actually kill any of them.
Huck continuing his probe production. Sen going up for the pathogen gland so he can tech to infestors. No 2-2 quite yet from Sen. No hive tech either.
Delaying his upgrades a bit.
You know, Sen could be worried about until he notices his opponent taking the 3rd base. He was thinking, okay, if my opponent's going for a 2-base timing, it may need my resources to get spine crawlers. Now realizing that timing is not happening. Here come the speedings. This is the tough part about taking a 3rd base.
Oh, and it looks like he's going to try and run through the 3rd base. He does try to go for the natural, but that's unsuccessful. A lot of those speedlings ran through the 3rd base and were actually completely slaughtered by Huck's forces as they ran through the 3rd base.
A very nice defense by Huck, getting a lot of kills there. Extremely cost efficient in that engagement. 4 units lost versus the 26 of Sen.
Huck's got to be a little bit careful here. He is leaving his natural a little bit exposed there for a second. As his only sentries were over by the 3rd base. Speedling still just running around the map, not really doing too much. But keeping that map control under Sen's possession.
I love building the walls here by Huck, of course. Creating all the building walls was essential to Crank and basically making sure his army was protected behind those walls until he could develop it to the point where he wasn't afraid of Ultradus anymore.
Not a huge food difference coming out from either of these players either. It's only 108 to 96. And that's only been in the last couple seconds that we've seen that food difference really start to go in favor of our Zerg player.
Speeding's trying to run a natural. Huck with good defense at a 3rd and a natural. One more Speeding runs to the 3rd. It's taken out as well.
Zergling running around. Huck with the 2 Phoenixes is able to scout off pretty much everything that's going on here for Sen's army. Infestors are starting to pour out here. We've got an Ultralisk Cavern finally started here. The Hive is now finished up. And with these Infestors, you can actually start doing a little bit more damage.
Queens being produced 4 at a time. 2-2 on the way. But Huck, similar to what Crank did, has double robotic facilities. So you can get plenty of Colossi to deal with the Infestors and the Speedlings, and also plenty of Immortals to help against the Ultradus.
So if Huck hits that perfect army composition, do you think Sen's going to be able to get a better engagement than he did against Crank?
I mean, if there's enough Immortals, it's very difficult to actually make that engagement happen unless you additionally add in something like Neural Parasite or something crazy like that. Just because the army composition is so strong for the Protoss, if they've been countering your 18-minute army from minute 10 onward, that's what Huck's doing, and Sen hasn't realized that. Again, he's building the Immortals, or sorry, excuse me, the Ultras. What Huck needs to do is just keep in a defensive posture, perhaps even build some additional gateway walls out here. That's what he's doing. He's building pylons. If he can get a little shelter to hide behind until he can build up a high immortal count, he's going to be in great shape.
He's still at 130 food, so he's got a lot of food supply to fill up with nothing but immortals. But there are a lot of Zergling out here. They're going to take a lot of those shots from the Immortals.
The creep is spread so much more than it was in the game against Crank, and the creep spread is so essential to being able to utilize the Zerg melee units in addition to the Queens.
Archons coming in here. Those Archons will do a lot of damage against the Zergling because Zergling clump up, and Archons have that blast radius per their attack.
Huck extending his wall.
Can Huck win this battle is going to be very key here.
Oh,
I think this would be a
Immortals
great
joined the
time for maybe a couple of Swarm hosts just to put a little bit more pressure onto Huck on different angles from where his main army is.
He could do that. He'd have to totally switch his upgrade path, though. It looks like he just wants to spend it all on these units here. Coming in a great time warp, slows down those speedlings. And Huck has an amazing defensive position right here.
The Ultralisk trying to break right on through, but the Immortals are doing so much work. There are still 4 Ultralisk up, 3 now. Transfuse is going down here with the increased creep spread that allows those Queens to reach those Ultralisk a little bit easier, get the Transfuses. And he actually breaks through most of the army here for Huck. Huck actually losing one. Oh, wow. Just barely keeps that Colossus alive with 5 health. And the Ultralisks fall at the last moments here. Huck barely coming out on top of that battle.
Not winning by quite as much as Crank did, but still keeping some of his important units alive, whereas Sen lost almost every single Ultralisk. There's one left here. Huck moving on to creep with nothing to deal with the speedings except for a single Colossus. A very brave move there, and I think he's being punished for it.
Yeah, and now Sen's got a whole bunch of speedlings in Huck's third base. He could actually potentially take out this third base with no problem at all. Huck doesn't really have that much to answer this. There's an Archon there.
Oh.
But other than that, ooh, warping in DTs. Is there an Overseer? There is an Overseer coming in here.
Oh no, nothing to kill the Overseer. The DTs go down, all the probes go down. The third base is done, and that means Huck is done as well. Sen with a nice push there, and you know, the big thing is he was able to get the Queens right into battle, and they were able to get all those transfuses done, and that was such a big difference.
And keeping those Ultralisks alive for just a little bit longer than he was against Crank, that allowed him to take out all those Immortals. All that was left after that was just a couple of Stalkers, a couple of Zealots, and a Colossus. The Colossus eventually went down when he moved out onto Creep, which was a bit of a bold maneuver there from Huck. And unfortunately, once he lost the rest of the forces there for the third, Sen felt completely comfortable enough to run just nothing but speedlings in there to finish up the third base. And with Huck, nothing left to defend that third base, lost it knowing that he was on only his natural for mining base. There's just no way that he can win.
A very tough game for Huck there, but he put up a heck of a fight. Going down 1-2 to Sen is no shame at all. Of course, if you look at the group results for today, we saw in the first matchup, in the first 2 matches, both Sen and Crank defeated their opponents 2-0. Then Crank took out Sen, being the first person to advance in round of 16. Then when Huck took out Kapak, he then advanced to fight Sen in the final match, unfortunately losing. So Sen and Crank are your 2 players to advance to round of 16. Huck and Capoch are the 2 players to fall down to that Challenger division. Of course, this was the last group of the round of 32, which means that we now have the round of 16 groups ready. We're going to reveal those in a minute after a short break.